Eastern Caribbean, VON Radio, from the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis.
From the VON Newsline, this is the VON Major Newscast.
Good evening, I am Jarvis Warner with your VON Major News package for today, Friday, March 27th, 2020. In our lead stories nationally, Methodist Circuit here on Nevis and other churches suspend services until further notice following COVID-19 pandemic, and NASPA implements safety guidelines at ports on Nevis following COVID-19 pandemic. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago records second COVID-19 death, Caribbean cases surpass 900. Internationally, more than 900 COVID-19 related deaths in a day in Italy, and in sports, Barcelona to cut players' wages. We'll have the details to these and other stories after this message.
Another look.
Different from how you've seen it before.
Another look.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's powerhouse, VON.
Welcome back on to the national news in detail.
Through this medium, I hereby announce that as of this Sunday, 29th March 2020, church services and all other scheduled meetings of the Methodist Church will be suspended until further notice. This was a difficult decision arrived at following an extended meeting of the stewards and other church officers meeting with the ministerial staff on Thursday.
That's Reverend Moreland Williams of the Charlestown Methodist Church. Mr. Williams' announcement came in light of the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis has confirmed its first 2 cases of the coronavirus COVID-19. Mr. Williams also expressed remorse and at the same time urged all to pray.
We sincerely regret this decision, but think it is the wise thing to do in the wake of the COVID-19 crisis affecting the entire globe and which has now arrived on our shores. The circuit staff has put in place alternative ways of worshipping to assist us in keeping the faith alive, which we will inform you about by way of written correspondence and the social media as the days go by. Until we are able to meet again, then, God willing, do your best to keep the faith alive. And don't forget to pray.
Reverend Moreland Williams. Meanwhile, the St. Thomas's and St. James's Anglican churches have cancelled their Sunday Mass on Sunday, March 29th and Sunday, April 5th. The New Testament Church of God here on Nevis has suspended their services for 2 weeks effective Sunday, March 29th until further notice due to concerns regarding COVID-19. Furthermore, the Charlestown Wesleyan Holiness Church, effective Sunday, March 29th, will suspend its regular Sunday morning service. General Manager of the Nevis and Seaports Authority, NASPA, Mr. Orwell Brandy, issued a release earlier today regarding the measures put in place at all ports in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. The release reads, and I quote, "At our main cargo port at Long Point, the Nevis and Seaports Authority requires all cargo vessel owners to adhere to the following in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. The vessel operator, crew and agent must strictly observe and follow the usual customs, security and health procedures already in place, which includes at least 24 hours notice of the vessel's arrival and the last port visited. The presentation of the required documents by the agent to the various agencies prior to the boat's arrival. This should include information on anyone becoming ill when en route to Nevis and no loading, unloading or exchanges between vessel crew and shoremen before the necessary inspection and documents have been processed," end quote. Additionally, information must be submitted referencing which COVID-19 affected countries the crew members have visited within the last 14 days. All handlers of cargo, being vessel crew, shoremen and employees, must see the sanitary procedures made available at the port before conducting any business. In the interim, there will be movement of cargo between St. Kitts and Nevis. In related news, Assistant Comptroller in the Customs Department here on Nevis, Mr. Roger Fifield, gave the VON Newsline this information.
Effective Monday 30th March, the Customs and Excise Department baggage hall at the Francis International Airport, our new opening hours would be from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays to Fridays until further notice. The persons who have cargo at the airport, we would be able to facilitate you between the hours of 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Mondays to Fridays. The management would like to thank you for your understanding, and we do apologize for any inconvenience that might have been caused.
Assistant Comptroller in the Customs Department here on Nevis, Mr. Roger Fifield. As of Wednesday, March 25th at 11:59 p.m., St. Kitts and Nevis closed its borders to all commercial airline flights. The closure goes until April 7th, 2020. The Department of Labour and the St. Christopher and Nevis Social Security Board have assured residents of St. Kitts and Nevis that they are working expeditiously to facilitate the payment of income support relief for employees and self-employed persons affected by COVID-19. Senior Minister and Minister of Labour, the Honourable Vance Amory, made a statement on Wednesday, March 25th to reiterate the government's commitment to seeing persons through this unprecedented challenging time from the novel coronavirus. We ask all affected employees to exercise patience, he said. The relief measure, which was announced by Prime Minister Dr. the Honourable Timothy Harris, will assist qualifying persons by providing a sum of money up to a maximum of $1,000 per month over the next 3 months in the first instance. The total received is dependent on several factors, including monies earned from regular wages or salaries. For instance, a hotel employee works on reduced hours and makes a $700 paycheck at the end of the month. The Social Security Initiative will add $300, ensuring that the person will not receive less than $1,000 at the end of the month. Senior Minister Amory said that the Department of Labour continues to work with all to advise and bring about the best resolution under these extraordinary circumstances. In a release from the Ministry of Education here on Nevis, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Mr. Kevin Barrett, stated the importance of schoolwork packages for students in light of school closures due to COVID-19 pandemic. According to the release, in the wake of the pandemic and the confirmation of the persons in our federation who have tested positive for the virus, the Ministry of Education gives the assurance that they are taking this crisis seriously. The release mentioned that the Department of Education, headed by Ms. Danella Claxton, Principal Education Officer, was very proactive in putting in place Phase 1 of the response to the COVID-19 pandemic. This response included ensuring that children were properly supplied with teacher-prepared work packages at the early closure of school. The main objective of the schoolwork packages is to provide children with what is mostly review material and exercises which they can complete while away from school. Because of the coronavirus pandemic, Term 2 here in St. Kitts and Nevis ended early, as the last day of school was Wednesday, March 25th. The People's Action Movement PAM has expressed solidarity with the 2 individuals who are St. Kitts and Nevis's first confirmed cases of COVID-19. PAM's candidate for St. Christopher No. 2, Ambassador Jonald Powell, stated, "On behalf of myself and the executive of the People's Action Movement, we extend our support to the 2 persons who have been infected by the COVID-19. Mr. Powell added that there are times when we as a community come together to let people know we care about them. This is one of those times. In more national news, according to Ocean Terrace Inn OTI social media page, effective March 30th, 2020, the establishment will close permanently. The establishment thanked all for the support given throughout the years and wished all safety during these perilous times. Still in national news, a fisherman's wharf will be closed effective immediately until further notice. Breakfast, lunch and dinner will be held at Veranda Restaurant daily. Further updates will be provided where necessary. Dr. Al Pierre from the St. Kitts and Nevis Medical and Dental Association recently told officers of the Royal St. Christopher and Nevis Police Force that now is the time to really understand the difficulty of the job our police have. According to our police communique, Recently, at the National Emergency Management Agency's headquarters, Dr. Pierre made a presentation to officers from the force on the current coronavirus pandemic. The doctor spoke about how the officers could prepare and protect themselves while executing their duties, and they, in turn, were given an opportunity to ask him questions on the topic. Following his presentation, he urged the public to cooperate fully with the police, saying that in addition to other frontline workers, the role of the police was also critical. The Electoral Commission has suspended all hearings to objections and claims until further notice, according to a release from the government. This comes out of an abundance of caution and to help protect the general public from the effects of the novel coronavirus. Registration of voters, however, will continue for as long as possible, but only one person will be allowed into the registration area at a time, as directed by the staff, the Commission said. This is to allow for social distancing, as recommended by newly established protocols. These rules apply to the offices in St. Kitts and Nevis. The public will be further informed of any future developments. The Commission also apologized for the delays that these decisions will cause, but has decided to follow the dictates of the government and in particular the Ministry of Health. And St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party's SKNLP candidate for St. Christopher No. 8, Dr. Terence Drew, has urged residents and citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis to keep calm following the announcement of 2 confirmed cases of coronavirus in St. Kitts and Nevis. Dr. Drew, who is also a medical internist, stated this is really some daunting news. However, let's stay calm. He urged all to practice good hygiene, eat well, stay hydrated, take vitamins if necessary, stay away from the crowds. If sick with flu-like symptoms, stay at home and call a doctor. And that's it for our national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com, or you can check us out on Facebook at Von Radio, or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
Personal as well as your business needs, and we're here to help. Our knowledgeable staff will work with you to help you achieve the financial success that you or your company needs in a competitive market. We offer solutions to make your banking experience easier, like our savings and checking accounts. Be sure to ask about our youth savers accounts and our Bank of Nevis Gold Club. We offer a wide range of personal loans, including mortgage, land, student, auto, and consumer loans. Have access to your funds instantly with our BeOnline internet banking and our debit and credit cards. We make international banking and investing easy. How's your business? Give it the leverage it really needs by letting the Bank of Nevis assist you with all the necessary funding for all your business expenses. It's that easy. What are you waiting for? The Bank of Nevis Limited, improving the quality of life.
Like us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/The Bank of Nevis.
Welcome back, and now on to the regional news. News from Trinidad and Tobago. A second Trinidadian has died from the coronavirus that has been responsible for more than 26,000 deaths worldwide. The Ministry of Health announced today that despite the best efforts of the healthcare professionals, a second national of Trinidad and Tobago who tested positive for COVID-19 has died. The deceased was a 77-year-old man with underlying medical issues. He died on Wednesday. The 927 cases were recorded in Dominican Republic with 488, including 10 deaths, Venezuela 107 cases, including 1 death, Cuba 67 cases, including 2 deaths, Trinidad and Tobago 66 cases, including 2 deaths, Aruba 28 cases, Jamaica 26 cases with including 1 death, Barbados 24 cases, United States Virgin Islands USVI 17 cases, Bermuda 15 cases, Dominica 11 cases, Bahamas 9, Haiti 8, Suriname 8, Antigua and Barbuda 7, Curacao 7 cases including 1 death, Grenada 7, Cayman Islands 6 deaths, including cases, including 1 death. Guyana 5 cases, including 1 death. Montserrat 5, St. Lucia 3, Anguilla 2, Belize 2, British Virgin Islands 2, St. Kitts and Nevis 2, St. Martin 2, Turks and Caicos Islands 2, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines 1 case. Globally, there were 584,110 cases in total, including 26,826 deaths. So far, 131,428 people who tested positive have recovered. Still in regional news, the Jamaican government has promised to thousands of Jamaicans who lose their jobs because of the impact of the coronavirus pandemic financial assistance. The offer will be available to persons who lost their jobs in any sector from March 10th and before June 30th. And Minister Nigel Clark said some individuals will be required to apply online, and successful applicants will receive at a rate of $9,000 in Jamaican currency or $67 per fortnight, which will be paid monthly. Out of Anguilla, the country reported its first 2 cases of the coronavirus on Thursday, March 26th. The island is one of the last Caribbean countries to report a case of the dreaded virus. One case involved a 27-year-old woman from the United States. The other is a 47-year-old resident who was in close contact with the woman, according to stlucianewsandland.com. It is a sign of local transmission. In Barbados, Prime Minister Mia Mottley will undergo a medical procedure this weekend. In her absence, Minister of Education Sanshia Bradshaw will act as Prime Minister. Mottley made the announcement in a national address from Ilawa Court on Thursday, when she also said the number of COVID-19 cases on Ireland had risen, leading to an activation of Stage 3 of the National Response Plan. Still in Barbados, the country will be under a curfew from tomorrow, March 28th to Tuesday, April 14th. Prime Minister Mia Mottley has warned residents that the Royal Barbados Police Force will deal accordingly with all persons found to be moving about who are not part of the essential services. Mottley said this curfew would start at 8 p.m. through 6 a.m. In Dominica, Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit has appealed to Dominican entrepreneurs and restaurant owners to be innovative and creative when conducting business in order to minimize the spread of the dreaded coronavirus COVID-19. He was presenting a live statement on Tuesday. He said if persons cannot gather inside a restaurant, they should introduce takeout or pick-up services, he advised. According to Mr. Skerrit, the issue is not the conduct of business, it is the gathering and social interaction of the individuals. And that's it for our regional news segment. Stay with us for news around the world. Welcome back on to the international news. Italy has recorded 969 new coronavirus deaths, its highest daily figure in the outbreak so far. It means 9,134 people have now died from the virus in the country. Earlier, the World Health Organization WHO's chief said a chronic global shortage of protective equipment was one of the most urgent threats to their ability to save lives. Italy is the worst affected in Europe. Almost everything has been closed and people told to stay at home. Earlier today, authorities warned that restrictions were likely to be extended beyond April 3rd. The BBC's Mark Lowen reports.
Every day is a struggle for Italians to take in the scale of these losses. Deaths in the past day have soared. More than 540 people have died just in the northern region of Lombardy, worst hit by the virus. Infections are down on the previous day, but more than 2 weeks into the lockdown, progress is slow and uneven. Officials here say Italy is yet to reach the peak of the outbreak and that restrictions will have to be extended beyond the 3rd of April. The Pope has compared the crisis to the thick darkness of a gospel story, calling doctors, nurses, caregivers and others exemplary companions on this journey.
New data confirms the improvement in air quality over Europe, a byproduct of the coronavirus crisis. Lockdown policies Lockdown policies and the resulting reductions in economic activity have seen emissions take a steep dive. The maps were produced by the Royal Netherlands Meteorological Institute, KNMI. In more international news, the U.S. Congress has passed its largest ever financial stimulus package worth $2 trillion as the country grapples with the coronavirus pandemic. The House of Representatives passed the bill 2 days after the Senate. President Donald Trump says he will sign it. Freshman Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez today slammed the $2.2 trillion coronavirus stimulus package passed in the Senate as shameful and argued that the bill was one of the largest corporate bailouts in American history. UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson has tested positive for coronavirus. Mr. Johnson said he had developed mild symptoms over the past 24 hours, including a temperature and cough. He is self-isolating in Downing Street, but said he will continue to lead the government's response via video conference as we fight this virus. Mr. Johnson was last seen on Thursday night clapping outside number 10 as part of a nationwide gesture to thank NHS staff and carers. Earlier this week, the Prime Minister's spokesman said if Mr. Johnson was unwell and unable to work, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab, as the first Secretary of State, would stand in. Here is Mr. Johnson.
I've developed mild symptoms of the coronavirus, that's to say a temperature and a persistent cough. And on the advice of the Chief Medical Officer, I've taken a test. That has come out positive, so I am working from home, I'm self-isolating, and that's entirely the right thing to do. But be in no doubt that I can continue, thanks to the wizardry of modern technology, to communicate with all my top team to lead the national fight back against coronavirus.
And the United States has more confirmed cases of coronavirus than any other country, with more than 85,500 positive tests. The U.S. has overtaken China, 81,340, and Italy, 80,589. However, with 1,304 COVID-19 related deaths, the U.S. toll lags behind China, 3,292, and Italy, 8,215. The grim milestone came as President Donald Trump predicted the nation would get back to work pretty quickly. Asked about the latest figures at a White House briefing on Thursday afternoon, President Trump said it was a tribute to the amount of testing that we're doing. And that brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next.
And it's time to hunt your prize. Come and celebrate Easter at the City Drugstore Nevis. Here are the rules. 1. Visit the store. 2. Browse for what you want and browse some more. 3. Choose wisely, and if you present a product with special clues, you win. Prizes include discounts, TDC gift cards, sweet treats, and much more. What's Easter without some shopping fun? So visit the City Drugstore this Easter and win big in our Hunt Your Prize promotion.
Welcome back on Now the Sports. In football, Barcelona are taking measures to cut the wages of their players and staff to reduce the economic effects of the coronavirus crisis, the La Liga club said on Thursday. All professional players at Barcelona, including six-time World Player of the Year Lionel Messi, as well as non-playing staff, will face a compulsory wage reduction during the period of lockdown, the club's directors decided at a board meeting held via video conference. Spain was put into lockdown on March 14th, with citizens only allowed to leave their homes in order to conduct essential business. The period is expected to be extended this weekend once the initial 15-day period has finished. Spain has been Europe's second most impacted country by the pandemic, behind Italy. In more football, difficult decisions will have to be taken to counter the financial impact of coronavirus on English football, says the Premier League, EFL, and Professional Footballers Association. All games have been postponed until at least April 30th and will only resume when it is safe and conditions allow. A Premier League, EFL, and PFA statements said their thoughts continue to be with everyone affected by the virus. In cricket, the England and Wales Cricket Board could install coronavirus checkpoints and isolation units at grounds in order to resume the game behind closed doors. English cricket has shut down until at least May 28th, but the ECB is looking at playing internationals with no fans. England's Test series with West Indies is due to start at the Oval on June 4th, and Steve Ellery of the ECB told The Guardian that this would require a sterile bubble to ensure the identification of anyone in the vicinity who was carrying the virus. The government's initial advice around mass gatherings prior to the current lockdown was 500 people or fewer, and Mr. Ellery is using that as a basis for decisions. In American football, the 2020 NFL Draft is to go ahead as scheduled next month, but players, fans and media will not be present because of the coronavirus pandemic. It will be held from the 23rd to the 25th of April in a television studio with players interviewed via video conference. The draft was due to take place in Las Vegas, and the NFL had already cancelled all public events. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell said it can serve a very positive purpose for our clubs, our fans, and the country. The NFL Draft is one of the biggest events in the United States sporting calendar, with all 32 teams recruiting talent from the American collegiate system amid wall-to-wall media coverage. In local sports, chief coordinator of the annual cross-channel swim between St. Kitts and Nevis, Winston Cook, broke the news on Thursday that the event for this year has been cancelled due to the coronavirus pandemic. According to Mr. Cook, many of the overseas participants who had already registered and booked hotel stays on the island were forced to pull out due to the coronavirus restrictions currently in place internationally. In athletics, when the IOC announced the postponement of the Summer Olympics, the sporting world and Olympic hopefuls everywhere breathed a sigh of relief. As disappointing as it is for athletes to have to wait another year to compete in Tokyo, the consensus is that postponement was the right decision. For American sprinter Noah Lyles, who has asthma, moving the games to 2021 was quite possibly the only way he could compete in Tokyo due to health concerns surrounding the coronavirus outbreak. Lyles, the reigning 200-meter world champion, is 22 years old, and although young and fit, he could face serious complications if he contracts the coronavirus. Had the games gone ahead as planned this summer, Lyles, although one of the fastest sprinters in history and the gold medal favorite, could very well have had to stay home, according to runningmagazine.ca. And in rugby union, England head coach Eddie Jones will take a pay cut of more than 25% as a result of the coronavirus pandemic. Jones has joined the Rugby Football Union's highest paid executives in accepting a reduction to help limit the financial impact of the pandemic. RFU are braced for revenue losses of up to £50 million. It is understood the pay cuts for Jones and the executive team apply to their full remuneration package of salary, bonuses and pension to the equivalent of more than 25%. Mr. Jones would have been due to a sizable bonus at the end of June after guiding England to the Rugby World Cup final. And that's it for sports. The weather is next. Welcome back to weather tonight. Partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. The weather tomorrow, partly cloudy with a slight chance of showers. The winds easterly at 15 to 28 kilometers per hour. The sea is 1.2 to 1.8 meters. The sunrise tomorrow will be at 9 past 6 a.m. And that's how we wrap up the major news package for today, Friday, March 27th, 2020. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, Methodist Circuit here on Nevis and other churches suspend services until further notice following COVID-19 pandemic, and NASPA implements safety guidelines at ports on Nevis following COVID-19 outbreak. Regionally, Trinidad and Tobago records second COVID-19 death. Caribbean cases surpasses 900. Internationally, more than 900 COVID-19 related deaths in a day in Italy. And in sports, Barcelona to cut players' wages. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Jarvis Bond wishing you a safe and enjoyable weekend.
VON vibrates. The whole Caribbean must shake.
860 AM, the Powerhouse.
It is now 6:30 in the Eastern Caribbean. Good evening to one and all out there in Radio Land. Today is Friday, the 27th day of March, 2020. I am Melissa Martin. I'll be keeping you company this evening.
Late night, butterflies, tomorrow's play, laying on my mind. And I'm counting down the seconds. Whiskey need to tame the nerves. Can't wait to see